Well, hello, my kindred spirits. How are you doing today? I hope that every one of you are doing great. And I wanted to say thank you to all of you who said yes to me making an herbal remedies video. This is something that I am so passionate about, and I have so much fun teaching. Now, yesterday I taught an in-person class here at our Airbnb about herbal medicine making. And for those of you who don't know, I teach monthly back to basics classes. And so yesterday was herbal medicine making. I'll be teaching a candle making class in October. We're going to have a lot of fun in November and teach an old-fashioned candy making class. And then in December, we're going to have a Christmas tea. We're going to wind the year up with a beautiful Christmas tea. And so if you live in the area, I'd love for you to join us for that. But let me tell you a little bit about what we did yesterday, and then we're going to go into what I'm going to teach you today. So I had 11 ladies come to the class, and we learned how to make echinacea and elderberry syrup. We learned how to make a goldenrod tincture, a healing salve, and then we learned about different teas that you can use also for herbal health. So I'm going to teach you today how to make the elderberry and echinacea syrup as well as the goldenrod tincture. But some of the things that we talked about yesterday were the abundance of herbs and foods even that we have been supplied with on this earth. You just have to know how to identify them and look for them. And it's fascinating to me because it would be difficult to live off of everything that you gather, but you can forage for things and gather things in your own woods that can help sustain you if necessary. I don't think things are ever going to get that bad, but if you ever needed to, you could be a little bit more self-sufficient with those things. Also, as far as treating different ailments such as seasonal allergies or bug bites and bee stings or colds and flu, there are so many things that you can use. And one of them is this beautiful goldenrod. And this is one of the herbs that we're going to be using today. Now, I'm going to show you a picture of where I gather my goldenrod. It's right on my property. And I want you to look at this as much as we can here. Goldenrod gets a bad rap, and I'll tell you why. It's very showy. I mean, look how pretty that is. And when you see it growing in a field, that's what you zone in on, especially in the fall of the year when your seasonal allergies kick in. But this little beauty is not responsible for those seasonal allergies. The responsible party is ragweed. And ragweed also blooms during this time of year, but it's less show. Goldenrod is very popular. It grows along streams and in woods and in wooded areas and along roadsides. I don't like to gather mine anywhere except for in my field because, people throw things out on the side of the road and they spray on the side of the road. So you want to gather it in an area that's not been sprayed if possible. But we're going to use this today in one of our remedies, and then also elderberries. Now, elderberries grow in abundance all over the United States, especially in areas that are sort of wet and swampy areas. And so in a lot of our property that's next to a creek, I can gather elderberries throughout the late summer months. They ripen in late July and August around here. You can buy elderberries also. You can also buy goldenrod, but I prefer to harvest my own if I can get to it before the birds. But if you can't, you can also buy it. My favorite place to buy my herbs is from Mountain Rose Herbs. They are in Oregon, and they are a reputable company that's been around for many, many years, and they do a great job with supplying with all the herbs that you will probably need to build up your own home apothecary. So we're going to be using elderberries, and then also we're going to be using echinacea. Echinacea is the an herb from the purple coneflower, and it's Tennessee's state herb, which if you're a Tennessean, you may already know that. That's not all that important, but it's endearing to me because I love to use echinacea. And then also we're going to be using some local honey. Local honey is very important to use in your recipes and to take on a daily basis if you're trying to ward off seasonal allergies, because it contains the flora and fauna from your local trees and your flowers. So that's going to help be an inoculant for your seasonal allergies as well. And then I believe that is all I needed to show you as far as what we're going to be making today. But let me show you just a couple of other things, because again, this is just fascinating to me, because God has given us all of these beautiful things to use. We just have to open our eyes and educate ourselves on what to look for. Now, you've probably seen these before. I have another video where I took you around my property and showed you some of the different edible things that we have growing. This is a persimmon, and it's not ripe yet. We have to wait till way down in the fall before we can eat these. They are very, very bitter. It makes me turn my mouth in just thinking about how bitter this is. It's full of tannins right now, so it'll pucker your mouth up if you try to eat it right now. But if you eat them when they're ripe, you will be rewarded with the juiciest, sweetest flavor. Now, they turn a bright, beautiful orange when they're ripe. And if you can get to them before the possums, you'll be rewarded with a delicious tasting fruit pulp that you can use in cookies and cakes and different ways to just enhance your flavor palette and just to be able to eat something off the land. Now, these grow like crazy here in the southeast. I know that they grow like crazy in Texas too. I used to live in Texas, so I've seen them in Texas too. If they grow in your area and you're not in North Carolina or the southeast for that matter, let me know. I'd love to know if you have persimmons in your area. Another wild edible that you can harvest for yourself are hickory nuts. And we have hickory trees all over our property, and they start dropping their nuts in the fall. This is something that takes a lot of work to get into, but if you can crack that tough old hickory nut, you'll be rewarded with a delicious nut meat inside. And the flavor is delicious. I love the taste of a hickory nut too. These things take a lot of work, I will warn you. You see how small both of these are, and persimmons are loaded with seeds, so you've got to get past all those seeds before you can get to the pulp. The hickories are small, they're hard nut to crack, and their nut meats are also small, so it's going to take a lot of work to get to the edible parts. But there's something about thinking about where our food comes from and trying to eke out a meal out of something that is so hard won like these makes you really appreciate how easy we have it now and how easy it is to get edible food just from our grocery store. I don't know if you like to put your mind in places like that, but I do, because it makes me more grateful and appreciate things more. So let's put these things aside here, and we're going to get on to our herbal medicine making. And I'm going to show you a few things. Let me also tell you, if I haven't already said before, I am not a medical professional. I do have an herbalist certification, and I have used these with great effect throughout the years for myself and my family. But do not jump into making these things without doing your own research first. And I also would like to tell you that you need to buy books. It's very difficult to find good information anymore that I have seen on Google. They've kind of changed things around, and I realize that I'm on Google's platform right now. But I have had a hard time finding information that 5 or 6 years ago was very easily obtainable. So if you have your own supply of books and you keep up with them, and then you do these things at home for your family, you're going to be more likely to remember it One book that I recommend is Rosemary Gladstar's Family Herbal. This is an excellent book. Also, Herbal Antibiotics by Stephen Herod Berner. This is an excellent book. And last but not least, I would recommend you getting a field guide for edible wild plants or edible herbs, because this is invaluable. You want to make sure that you're using the correct herb or food if you're foraging for foods, because you don't want to get into the wrong thing. And so these field guides are very helpful for identifying those herbs and those wild edibles. So the first thing we're going to do is put together our goldenrod tincture. And goldenrod is excellent to use because it is an astringent, anti-inflammatory, and it's a diuretic, and it's traditionally used to treat upper respiratory issues such as hay fever, and it's also helpful for issues with urinary tract infections. So what I like to do is I like to gather my goldenrod in the morning, and I have correctly identified it, and so then I take the stems. These stems are very woody, and I just take my finger down and get all of the leaves off just like that, and then I put them into a glass jar. And then I also take the flowers and I poke them down into the jar too, and it has such a nice fragrance. I love the way this smells. And so what you're going to do, this is a half pint little mason jar that I'm using, and I'm going to continue stripping the leaves. Show you that again, see if you can see. Just strip off all those leaves and then put your flowers down into the jar. Y'all hear that rain out there? It's raining in North Carolina today. It feels very, very nice out there. I think it's a good soup day. I think I'll make a big pot of soup for supper tonight. We're just going to strip those and then take the flowers off. You don't need a whole lot. You want to at least get your jar packed halfway full for this first time that we're going to be making this. So you can see my jar is halfway full. Next, you're going to take, I'm using Everclear. You want to use a like 100 proof vodka or Everclear if you can get it. And don't worry, we're going to cut this with water once we take it. But then you're going to take your vodka or your Everclear and you're going to pour it over your herb mixture. And you want to pour enough until your herbs are completely submerged with the alcohol. Ooh, that is stout. So you're going to put a lid on it. Label it. You must label everything because you will forget what is in here, and put a date on it. You're going to put this in a dark cabinet for 6 weeks, and every couple of days, if you think about it, go in there and kind of give it a shake. And if you forget about shaking it, that's fine too. It's going to do its work in that dark cabinet. But I like to go in there and just check on it every once in a while. Give it a good shake. And then in 6 weeks, you are going to have a liquid that looks like this. And look at, can you see the difference in color? Whoopsie. See the difference in color of the liquids? So what I do is I get a separate container and I pour off this liquid into my separate container, and then I throw away all of the leaves and the flowers that are left. Then I take that liquid and I pour it into a little dropper bottle like this, and then a lot of times they come with funnels, so it makes it much easier to get your medicine down inside these bottles. So I put my liquid down inside this bottle. I And I label this too, very, very important. I would label it, and then I would also write the instructions down on this as well so you'll know how to use it. If you suffer from seasonal allergies, what you'll want to do, and I'm going to have to show you we'll show you here so you can see. To a half a cup of water, you're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all. That is all you need. 5 drops of this goldenrod tincture to a half a cup of water. If you take that on a daily basis, you will see a difference in your seasonal allergies. It helps tremendously because it's going to dry up your mucous membrane as well, and it's going to keep you from having that runny nose and that itchy throat that you have during the year. Now, if you have an aversion to alcohol, no worries, because you can also make a tea out of this as well. If you don't want to use an alcohol tinctures are the strongest medicine, but if you don't want to use that, don't worry, because what you can do instead is you can strip the leaves off and the flowers off and put it into like a tea infuser, and then pour hot water over that and then drink it as a tea, and it will be very helpful. Now, you do need to be careful with if you're already taking a lot of different medications, because this can be a diuretic, and so you might want to check with your doctor and make sure that there aren't any contraindications between the herb and your medications. Typically there aren't. You would have to drink a bathtub full of this stuff before it would harm you, but it is very effective. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show you how to make is one of our favorites, and we've been making and using this for years. This is an elderberry and echinacea syrup. Now, you've probably seen elderberry syrup at the grocery store. It's a superior product. It's wonderful, but it's a lot less expensive if you make it at home yourself. So again, I get my elderberries either from my own property or I buy them from Mountain Rose Herbs. I also buy the echinacea from Mountain Rose Herbs as well. And let me tell you a little bit about elderberries. Elderberries are rich in antioxidants. They help reduce the duration of colds and the flu, and they contain compounds that inhibit the ability of virus to infect cells. Echinacea is known for its enhancing the immune system, and it's effective at reducing the symptoms of respiratory infections. So I love the combination of these two things together. What I do to make my syrup is I take 3 cups of fresh water, put it into a pot, and to that pot I add 1 cup of dried elderberries and then a half a cup of dried echinacea. Don't worry about writing these down. I'll have the recipes down in the description box. So after I have added everything to the pot, I put it on the stove, bring it to a quick boil, stirring constantly. After it's come to that boil, I turn off the heat and set it back and let it infuse for 2 hours. After all of that deliciousness has infused for 2 hours, I then come back into the kitchen, take a little fine mesh sieve like this, and I pour my liquid just like that. And you'll want to mash down your berries and your echinacea to get all that goodness out of it. It might even help to put this through some cheesecloth and then take that cheesecloth and squeeze it all out. Just get out all of that goodness from the elderberries and the echinacea. And you can see we have a lot less than 3 cups of liquid when it's all said and done. Then we're going to take a half a cup of honey, local honey, and we're going to pour it in to our mixture. So stir it up really well, and then what you'll do is pour your elderberry mixture over into another jar, another easy to get to jar, and you're going to store this in your refrigerator. And every day take about a tablespoon of it. Give it to your entire family if they can tolerate it, because it is so effective. Now, what I do is, instead of using a real tablespoon, I have it's like a little, it's not a shot glass, but it's like a little plastic, almost like a medicine glass, and I store it next to it in the refrigerator, and we just pour a little bit of it out into that little glass and take a shot of this elderberry syrup every day. It is so helpful, and I really think that you will enjoy the flavor of it and how it makes you feel if you get on a strict regimen of taking this. Well, my friends, I hope that that was helpful and informative to you. If you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comments section, or you can send me an email at lindy@lindysellers.com. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. And I would love for you to let me know down in the comments if you use herbal remedies and what you use, because I love learning from others too. And I think that we can create a stronger community when we can glean information from one another too. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Y'all take good care, and I'll see you on the next video.